I'll set them. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the first meeting of April for the Protective Services, April 9th. We stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Gross, would you lead us in the pledge? You were ready to go.
Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Gross. Roll call vote, please. Roll call, I should say.
Legislator Goulman.
Present.
Legislator Nasarino.
Present.
And Chairman Gross.
Present, thank you. On behalf of the Protective Services Committee, of myself, Legislators Gould and Nasarino, we'll move along to number 3, which is approval of the minutes from March 11th. Could I have a motion to approve those minutes?
Motion to approve.
Okay, a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. Number 4 is approval of a grant application for hazardous materials emergency preparedness grant, Bureau of Emergency Services, and it's number 4 here. And I guess the question is, it sounds like a good grant for the program, is the amount of money. I was wondering if Bob was looking, Chair of Emergency Services.
Yeah, it comes to a little over $3,000. I believe the number is $277,000 divided by the 62 counties.
Okay.
So it comes out to a little over $3,000 is the minimum amount. If some counties don't put in, like last year, quite a few counties didn't apply. So last year we got 6,800. And what they do is if the county doesn't apply, that much more goes to the other county.
Still fly.
Okay.
And it's believe it or not, on this $3,000 is an 80-20, and the 20% is in kind. You know,
So there's no,
yeah, that's
there's
what.
no financial share. I mean, we don't have to
No,
manage.
well, that's what the match is. It's in kind, 20% in kind.
Okay. So is there a deadline? You can move on this?
Yeah, I have to have the application in until May the application has to be in.
Okay. I have no other questions. Members of the committee have a question about it?
No.
Okay. Should we get a motion for approval for this?
Motion to approve.
Okay, second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Good, thank you very much. Number 5 is it's a fund transfer for the Needham Tower Generator Project. This, if you look at the background on it, it's basically equipment and maintenance on the tower. There's also a Social Security number in there. And comes the amount of about $13,688.69. It's a transfer. There's no actual physical impact. Any questions about the tower? Moving to improve things on it? Okay. There's no vote on that, so that's okay.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Bob, is this temporary or permanent?
This is a backup generator
Okay.
for the minimum tower. It's permanent.
It's permanent.
Okay. This is just for your information transfer. Number 6 is discussion of the text 911 service, and with us is the Acting Commissioner of Emergency Services, Bob Lipton. Would you want to come on up, Bob, and give us a little background on number 6, and we probably could go to number 7.
My shy supervisor.
Sure.
Cindy Jacobson come up also.
Cindy
Hi,
Jacobson,
Cindy.
welcome.
Hi.
We probably, in talking about this, we probably could do 7 and number 8 as well.
Yeah, actually 7, the next gen text messaging is the same as discussion on 7.
Right.
I thought it was, I had to put in for it, you guys did it for me. You wanted some information on text messaging, so Supervisor Jacobson, I have 3 copies here, one for each one. Supervisor Jacobson
Accept the
actually
additional.
wrote
Motion
up.
to accept the
Yes.
additional.
Yes, a motion to accept it? Yes?
I'll
Second.
second it.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you.
She wrote up a very nice short summary, just about what text 911 is. Texting to 911 is what is included in that big statement of next gen. That's what they're talking about. It's the ability for 911 to receive text messaging. Once text messaging comes in place, it's going to be the ability to receive pictures at 911 and or video at 911. So So that's what they call next gen 911. That's what it's all about, next generation of 911. Right now, the first step in the process is to receive text messaging. Some counties have begun to receive text messaging. There's 3 different ways to receive text messaging, and I believe 2 out of the 3 are starting to be used now. The third one is still in development. The first way is an SMS, where it's a short message service. That's text messaging.
Right.
That's just what it stands for. Is to TTY or TDD, which is the old-fashioned teletype and telecommunication device for the deaf. They send a text message. We receive it with that type of a device. The problem with that kind of a system is it's like the old-fashioned walkie-talkies, where you push the button and only one person can talk at a time. That's the way this text messaging service is. So if someone is texting in something, and then we go to answer and they're texting again, we're losing half the conversation, because it can only go one way.
Does
back
it show
and
up
forth.
afterwards, or
No,
does
it doesn't.
disappears?
Just disappears. So yeah, and that was the basic way that they started with text messaging. The next thing that they came up with was text messaging to a web browser, which is actually number 3 on the list here. Number 3 is the next thing that's working is text messaging on the web. So this is what Monroe is using right now, and that's what the article you sent me, Bill. This is what Monroe County is what they did for security purposes, and this is what worries us here in Putnam, is the system has to be live on the web. And what they did in Monroe is they have a computer off to the side. They don't allow their CAD system and their phone system to be live on the web. They actually have a standalone computer where the text messaging comes into. This way, in case anybody wants to hack in, and that's the big problem, they just hack into that standalone system. So they have to monitor that and watch that closely. Right now, we're just sitting in the wings watching that, because I really feel uncomfortable about putting that system on the web. We just all saw what happened to the White House itself with hacking into the White House. So don't think that's a really good idea, but that's method number 2 to bring text messaging into the 911 center. The third way, which is still under development, Verizon is working on this, which is developing a gateway, which will be a direct gateway just between the 911 center and Verizon. And like I said, that's still in development. They haven't made it yet. They're working on it. But that seems to be the most secure way to do business and the most logical way. It'll allow for texting back and forth. You can bring it into the CAD system then. It'll be directly into the CAD. It'll be linked up. So
You mentioned Verizon as a vendor. If you don't have Verizon, you have Sprint. You'd still be able to get into the system?
well, all of the carriers are required.
Verizon in that case is our provider
Yeah.
at the 911 center, but anybody's cell provider would be able to text into that.
Yeah, just like you text
Yes.
someone who has a different
Correct.
service.
Correct.
Okay, I wasn't sure with this kind of a system with a 911 if that applied to the normal
Yes.
texting. Okay.
Right. But what I was getting at is by June of this year,
Correct.
the providers are supposed to have the ability to do texting.
Correct. Now it's just the 4 big ones that have it. AT&T, Verizon, T-Mobile, and Sprint are the only ones that actually have a system in place to allow their customers to text to 911 to give us the location or approximate location and those kinds of things. So the other smaller companies have until June to get that technology in place on their end.
Okay.
Right, we are not, I say this, we have not been put forth with with us having to hook up to the phone companies, so we're not under the gun yet. The phone companies are under the gun by June of this year to get the text messaging done, but all the 911 centers are not.
This is state or federal regulation to do it by
Those
June?
are federal.
Federal?
Oh, so this is a federal mandate? They're asking us to do this
For the cell phone
For the-
provider.
for the cell phone?
For the
mandate?
cell, yeah,
Right.
we're not being asked to do it, we don't have a deadline to have to match up on our end to do this.
Because I don't really see first of all, we're a county of less than 100,000 people. I don't, we're not having a problem, you know. To me, this is more complication that now we get to that point that we're gonna be start receiving texts. I hope that we're not mandated that it ends up 6 months from now, a year from now, that the government says that we need to do it or comply with this. To me, this sounds like it's gonna be a lot more work,
Oh, it is.
a lot more responsibility, and
I believe it'll be mandated eventually. It's for hearing impaired people or speech impaired people, it's how they communicate now. So that's the majority of why it's being put in place. Or if someone thinks somebody's broken into their house or something and they don't wanna talk, then they can text.
I think that could be a big thing.
Those are the reasons, but it'll always be better if they can make an actual voice call.
Yes, that's what I would say.
Isn't the other piece of this is more and more, I know young people are not using telephones to talk, it's all texting all the time, so it's kind of fitting into
They
where
don't
we're going.
communicate.
Pardon me?
They don't communicate.
No, they don't. They don't have to write or talk.
Vocally.
They don't.
So this was just a very high level view of what text messaging is all about and where we're going right now with it.
Okay.
Do you have any idea how much it's costing Monroe County to do what they do? Or other counties that might be doing it?
No, I don't know but you gotta remember Monroe is much larger than
Yeah.
us. Monroe does about 3,000 calls a day. We do between 50 and maybe 100 a day. So that's the difference in size.
What are this the major cities in Monroe County?
Rochester.
Oh, Rochester, okay.
One of them, yeah.
That makes it different. Yes, ma'am.
I know when I was in Albany, Next Generation was, 9/11 was discussed in some of the classes, and I think, it's emerging technology. And it's a little preliminary as we speak now for what our needs might be, but it is going to come of age. It is something that is going to be utilized, recognized, and part of our future. And like I did, Roger and I know we work with high school kids, do not use their phones to speak. And this is just another form of communication and another form of assurance that people are able to make a 911 call in a safe environment. So it's just a matter of time.
Right.
It is, that's true, very true.
I certainly agree, and we're getting on board, and that's good. It's just another avenue of communication, which is important. I do want to thank Legislator Goulden for sending a letter initially on March 17th about this issue from an article you had read to get this thing to the forefront and be able to get a little more educated on the issue. So I appreciate that.
Should copy of the report be given to the clerk?
I'm sorry?
Copy of that
I have
report be
one.
given to the clerk?
Oh, sure. Okay. All right, so there was a discussion on that issue. I guess we should move right along under the Emergency Services Safety Advisory Board, some of the projects going on there.
Sure, like I said, the next gen was part of this discussion. The Emergency Services Safety Advisory Board is moving along. We've got a couple of really good projects moving. The Putnam Hospital radio project. Putnam Hospital met with their vendor. They spec'd out an entire system to install. They, just like we are always just waiting to cut a check. They have to cut a check from their finance department and go ahead with the project. We are also working on, let me talk to Derek real quick, with
we're working on the number of emergency calls
Yeah.
to nursing homes, places like Arms Acres, and we'd like to present some information to the committee next month.
Okay. These would be emergency calls from families to bring their
From,
loved one.
from the various facilities,
Out.
Okay.
the
Out.
Kent Nursing Home, the
Okay, gotcha.
Arms Acres, the Putnam Ridge. There are an inordinately large number of calls, as we know in Patterson.
Absolutely,
And
absolutely.
we want to research this and see, can some regulation be put in place where these facilities will have to have either their own ambulance
Mhm.
or provide their own service. So if somebody falls out of bed, you don't call 911, an ambulance has to come out,
Right.
put somebody back in bed again.
Right.
You know, if it's if it's a serious emergency, of course you go. But one of the members of our committee, David Jacobson, was telling us at the meeting last month that on one day at Arms Acres, they had 8 calls for the same gentleman.
Wow.
For the same gentleman.
It's,
Okay.
it's a problem, because it is very taxing on
Right.
the
And the emergency
ambulance
services can't
corps
handle
to
it.
get
Yeah.
out for very simple things, because they're not permitted to lift anyone or touch anyone. They're not, as a assisted living, some of the assisted living places, and so if grandpa falls out of bed, they have to call 911 to pick him up and put him back in, and this could happen several times a day, as Mr. Gross has indicated.
That's just,
Is Legislator Albano?
yeah, I mean, that just sounds amazing. When you're billing out 600 or 700 a day, you should have something to accommodate that, you know? You come out for the serious stuff. Yeah, we should look at that. I'm glad we're looking at that and study it and see if it should come up
What
with some
seems to be
ideas.
evolving is this whole emergency services, ambulances and training, it's just mushrooming. The need is there and it's growing, and we don't have the ability to really meet it.
Sounds like though, does the insurance have anything to do with this? From the aspect of if you're in a private facility, I had a family member who was in a private facility, and I can't imagine, I was there, you know, and people within the facility help their own patients. So in other words, if someone falls, they assist them, there's all kinds of aids.
Yes.
The idea that they would leave someone on the floor and wait for the ambulance to come, to me, sounds very, very unusual. Is that what you're talking
It's
about?
Nursing
it's
home
actually
versus
not
assisted living
unusual.
center.
Plaza Clover Lake has the
Plaza
same
Clover
policy
Lake.
in place. If a patient falls on the ground, they won't touch him.
There's
Because
no
they can
registration,
liability.
they don't have the
Liability.
staff, they don't have the authorized personnel to do that in the system, like Plaza Clover
So we
Lake.
should
If it's a
study
nursing home, they have nurses on staff or doctors on staff.
Really do.
But those type of
Yeah.
facilities do not, so they're not authorized to do that, and they don't. So, and this becomes very problematic because the calls are just ongoing and ongoing and ongoing.
Oh, absolutely, because in a facility of that nature, that's what they're
So
dealing with.
they
They're
sort of
dealing with
need to
people-
separate themselves, their need is separate, they want sort of, as you
So
indicated,
that's
need to
Clover Lake
separate
and Arms
themselves in a
Acres.
sense.
It's interesting.
Oh,
Putnam
Kent
Ridge.
Nursing Home, Putnam Ridge, in the Carmel area right here, what do we have, 17 group homes right in this area? Right in a 5-mile area. So, like Eric was saying, the ESSAD is going to put together some information, and next month they would like to start a dialogue with the Ledge about what we can do about this situation. Hopefully we'll have some statistics for you and some numbers and call rooms and so on and so forth. So,
I just see this emerging as a serious long-term issue, especially as populations grow and elderly
Absolutely.
population grows, you know, it's really a concern. Yes, sir.
Yeah, you know what I would say, once we study it, we really look at it, then there may be some legislation we could put in place where if you see a facility that has like a high frequency, some kind of bill back or something that is only fair, you know,
Yeah.
based on what they bill out, they should be able to accommodate certain things. So we'll look at it, we'll
We'll have
really
to look
spend
at the
time on it.
statistics and see if it's there.
You know, if it's still placed in our hands, you know, there's gotta be a financial.
Right.
All right, we'll look.
And Eric, just for the record, are you the chair of the safety board?
Yes, that's
You are.
yes.
I thought you were. Yeah, okay, thank you. Thank you for your comments.
Thank you.
Okay.
And
Okay.
just on the LEPC,
Yes.
our annual meeting will be May 7th, 1 o'clock at the Bureau. We are going to for the annual meeting, we have to post it in the newspaper and advertise it for anyone who wants to attend. The LEPC is in the process of reviewing the hazmat plan for Putnam County, and we met last night and put in a lot of good work. I had the state come down today and also provide us some advice on what we need in the hazmat plan. There were some things, it needs to be updated. So we're working diligently on doing the update on that. And like I said, on May 7th, 1 o'clock at the Bureau will be the annual meeting.
And you're inviting anyone to attend?
Yep. Oh, it's open to the public. We have to follow the open meeting laws.
I would like to be there.
Yep.
Okay. Okay,
And that's it for the update on that stuff.
for number 7, okay. Homeland Security Grant, does that involve you?
Yeah.
Okay. Yep.
We do not have the application yet, but I was notified that it was coming. And I know how short notice these things come in.
Yes.
So I wanted to get it on there because I'm not gonna have enough time to get it approved for next month. Today, actually, just before coming over here, we did get notification about the grant. Putnam County is being awarded the same as they were awarded last year, which is $275,000, 25% split with the Sheriff's Department. They also, in the paper that I did send, if you read into that, they did make mention of what the application period is going to be. They cut it down from 1 month to 21 days. That's why I put that in, because by the time we hit the next meeting next month, it's going to be too late. And I just want to put that in for approval now and leave it on the right side.
When do the 21 days begin?
Once we receive the application, the application period hasn't opened up yet. We're guesstimating it's gonna open next week. If they sent this letter out today, I would assume a week from today, we're gonna see the application, and then we got 21 days to submit.
Are you looking for a pre-approval now?
Yeah.
Get this moved along? I
Yeah.
certainly would support that, yeah.
Absolutely.
Chair,
I
can I
applaud you
ask,
for being proactive with
Yes.
this.
What are you intending to use the money for?
Vacation.
Yeah, that would be nice. There's a few different things, that we're looking at. We haven't, worked out the nuts and bolts of it yet, but I'll let you know as soon as we, there's a bunch of things in the fire right now, but as soon as I know, because we don't know yet, because there's only so much money and there's so many things that we want, you know?
So you have a list of items?
We have a list. We have a list for more than we're getting.
Okay. So that'll come forward at some point, we'll see where it's gonna go, I know where the funding is going, okay. Alrighty, could I have, I guess, a motion for the approval to move that forward then? Okay.
I'll make a motion.
Okay,
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Very good on that one. Thanks a lot,
Thank you.
I appreciate your overview on all these items. Okay, number 9 is the approval of Niagara County Legislature proposed memorialization resolution opposing executive action to ban the widely used common .223/5.56, and those calibers are for semi-automatic rifles, okay, also known sometimes as assault weapons, but that is a very popular caliber. Rifle ammunition designated M855/SS109 by the U.S. Department of Justice and Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms. Condemning all backdoor gun control via executive action. You may know the New York State SAFE Act requires all weapons that meet this category, which is the term assault weapon, had to be registered by a certain date last year, and there's no grandfathering in terms of if you happen to own one of these and you want to leave it to your grandson, you cannot do that in New York State. It has to be sold off or turned in, or at some point you can't carry it through. The whole idea is to end that weaponry allowed in New York State, and this ammunition personally looks like the backdoor avenue to try to begin that banning. I guess it's just a discussion on this. approval of the normalization will be in opposition, obviously, to what the state wants to do. Is there any thoughts on the Niagara County?
I would move it.
Okay, any other thoughts?
I agree.
Okay, I'm ready
Through the
to.
chair, I agree also.
Yes, ma'am.
I oppose any bans on ammunition. If we had, this ban would allow precedent where the government would have the legal authority to ban any type of ammunition. So I'm totally in agreement.
Very good point, Legislator Adamizio. That's opens the door to everything. If you have the ammunition, the weaponry, no.
Just get shipped away little by little.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. So we move this thing forward then. If I get a
Motion to move
motion,
forward.
a second.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. On number 9. Number 10 here is also discussion approval of New York's NISAC Rose Memorialization Resolution urging New York State to fully fund all costs related to raising the age of criminal responsibility to 18 years of age in order to avoid a new unfunded mandate on counties and New York City. Okay, this is an interesting resolution coming forward here. Any thoughts on this?
Want Jean to speak? Jean Funicello's here.
I'm sorry?
Jean Funicello.
Jean Funicello.
Yeah, I can walk
Oh,
through
yes,
a little,
okay, sure, come on up.
insight on this, if you mind, if you don't mind.
I've got a lot of info.
As
Thank
much
you.
as much as I have, I don't know how much that is.
Thank you, Gene, for being here this evening.
Sure. So this, I think you saw a couple of resolutions, one from NISAC and another one from Lewis County.
Yes.
Do you have that also? So the NISAC resolution, just to give a little background on the whole thing, a couple of years ago, Judge Lippman, Chief Judge of the state, proposed this raising the age of criminal responsibility. The thinking is that right now the age is, if you turn 16, you're going to be held criminally responsible for your actions for any criminal offenses, and you're handled through criminal courts. This proposal is to change that to make 16 and 17-year-olds, to make the age 18. So 16 and 17-year-olds would not be handled through the criminal justice, through the criminal courts. It would go through family court if this proposal is enacted. And the thinking and the research is that 16 and 17-year-olds are better handled through family court based on their developmental stage than through the criminal system. And frankly, every other state, pretty much, I think there's one other state that, North Carolina is the only other state that has the age of criminal responsibility at 16, like New York. So virtually the rest of the county has raised the age already, and for many years. So in concept, it's a good concept. I mean, people, if you think about it, it kind of makes sense. But there's implications that are pretty serious for the counties, and that's where these resolutions come in. 16 and 17-year-olds now are handled through the criminal courts, and they're kind of handled in a pretty expeditious way. And frankly, they're not always handled as thoroughly as they should be. So if you make 16 and 17-year-olds go through the family court process, they're going to be handled in a very different way. That's a little more understanding and a little more thorough in terms of what's actually going on in their lives, as opposed to what that specific incident was that brought them to the courts. That makes more sense, but it's also more work. Now, I can speak for the probation department that currently a lot of 16 and 17-year-olds don't come through our door because those cases that they're involved in are handled in the courts and expedited pretty quickly in the criminal courts. So they don't often get put on probation. We don't also often get involved in them. If this proposal goes through, this change the age, then all 16 and 17-year-olds will come through our doors through probation, because that will be their avenue into family court. We will have to do an intake on them, evaluate them. The other proposals involved are to do elaborate assessment of their needs and put programs in place for them. That's all going to take extra work. And I mean, it's valuable work, it's worthwhile, but it's certainly going to involve more staff, basically. More programs, more money for programs, more money for staff. So,
Can I just ask, do you have an idea of the kind of numbers you might be looking at?
Well,
that
in
age
Putnam,
group?
not really, we haven't figured that out, but you know, in one of the resolutions, I think it said, what was the number they threw out, something like 33,000, calendar year, 2013, 33,347 16 and 17-year-olds
Right.
were arrested or, you know, handled through the criminal courts. So that's the population that would then be shifted to the family court. Obviously, the percentage of Putnam wouldn't be, you know.
That's what I was wondering about Putnam, when we talking about a lot of juveniles, that age level coming through.
Well, yeah, we would. I can at least estimate that we'd want one other probation officer to handle that caseload.
Okay.
Because it wouldn't be a caseload that we'd be able to just absorb. It's gonna involve a lot extra work dealing with that population, that age group, and other programs that are gonna be required according to this plan that we'll have to have in place. And I mean, there's a lot of detail, and originally the governor tried to put this in his budget, and it didn't go through as the budget. But now, with his budget, but it's now being looked at, you know, through the legislature. And it'll probably, you know, I'm not saying I'm optimistic, but I think it will probably get enacted at some point after it's really thoroughly examined and all the implications are figured out. And, you know, we've heard very often that the state is committed to providing 100% funding for any expenses that are incurred by this. But sometimes, you know, the state says that, and it doesn't always work out that way.
Drops off after 100%.
So there needs to be a lot more examination of this and you know, understanding of the implications.
Can I just ask one question? You have your case officers now, what is their caseload? Is it like 90 to 100 cases?
No. It's typically about 60.
60, okay,
Yeah.
so we're looking at somewhere in the neighborhood, it could be up to 60 new cases.
Yeah, I don't know
related to
that it
this
would be that much in terms of if you had just somebody handling this age group. But like right now, we have one caseload of juveniles. This are up to the age of 16. PINs and JDs, juvenile delinquents, and PINs are persons in need of supervision. It's a smaller caseload, but when you're dealing with juveniles, you're dealing with a lot bigger population, but you're dealing with their family, you're dealing with the school, you're dealing with a lot of constellation of people and agencies that revolve around a juvenile because they're kids. They can't make decisions for themselves. They're really you know, you have to involve these other entities.
Legislator Nasarino?
You know, conceptually, I agree with this because I really think that 16 and 17-year-olds are still children. And I think it would behoove us to change the law as a society. Because sometimes kids make stupid mistakes, foolish mistakes, and that becomes to define them. So if we could do something to be proactive and have it go through family court and give them a second chance and be able to look at it in a different way, I think we owe that to the children. However, that being said, I don't like when I see things that push things forward and then say you will and you shall without the proper funding to institute these kind of programs.
Yep.
So it's a double-edged sword here. Well, conceptually, I think I agree with the proposal to change the law, but I would also like to see the funding in place to adequately help local governments to put the programs forward.
That's where a resolution like this comes from,
Right.
because it has to be addressed, and I think you know, it's our responsibility to
Albany
step up.
has keeps shifting down
Yes.
and puts the burden on us and local
Right.
municipalities for more and more.
Right, and even if
that-
it's a worthwhile program, you know, you don't necessarily want to dispute that, but there's only so much you can do. At some point, you can't do it right
Well, we
anymore.
can't shoulder the burden of, fiscally
Right.
speaking, we
Right.
can't shoulder the burden.
Right.
But, you know, this is an important consideration because you have people's lives at stake and you have people's futures at stake. So, from what we should do to help the kids and be able to foster a positive environment for them as they grow up, we should take every avenue to
Yeah, I agree.
realize that.
I mean, there's implications not just for probation. I mean, I can speak for probation more clearly and you know, informed, but there's implications for the social services department, for the DA's office, for county attorney's office. I mean, the cases that would normally be handled by the DA's office would now be handled by the county attorney because the county attorney handles family court cases as opposed to criminal court cases.
It has a huge impact.
DSS, if 16 and 17-year-olds are handled through family court, they will no longer be eligible to be incarcerated if that becomes necessary in a jail. They'll have to be held in a juvenile detention facility. Now, the trend has been to shut down juvenile detention facilities throughout the state.
Hasn't the state been closing those?
Yeah, now all of a sudden, they're proposing something that will, you know, you don't want, that's a last resort thing to place a kid in juvenile detention, but you still have to have the bed available if it's needed, so.
I think what you pointed out so well is the elements involved in dealing with young people, the schools and family and all the other social issues that come along.
Yeah, it's a lot more complicated.
And the fact that it's really helping young people who make mistakes. They're immature and they regret it later on, but like treatment court gives you a second chance. Stay out of jail and you get your act together. This would be an opportunity to maybe nip it ahead of time.
Yeah, and so, keep that age group from potentially incurring a criminal conviction, which can really be held against you if you have a criminal conviction when you're 16 or 17, and then for the rest of your life, that can pop up and really, you know,
It defines you.
Yeah.
That's who you become.
It's a
And we,
stigma.
you know,
Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
that's who you become.
So that's a big plus to avoid.
Mr. Chairman, what,
Yes.
this is brought up at the Sheriff's
Mr. Convery,
Association.
Under Sheriff,
Thank
welcome.
you. I think it's driven on the larger jails because the harder inmate population to deal with, other than the mentally ill, is the minor population. A lot of jails experience that. We're very lucky here in Putnam County. There's a very small minority of juveniles that get sent to jail. And you get the if you're 16, you're charged criminally. I just talked to Henry here from the DA's office, so it's not major caseload that you handle on juveniles. So I think the system's very fair here, but I think what's driving this is also the other counties with a large population. In our case, we have a minor population of juveniles. We're gonna lose some title money in education. Right now, the Carmel School District provides education backed by the federal government they're responsible for. We'll be losing that. But it's an issue. If you get minors, it's a major issue in jail how to deal with them. They have to be segregated. It's a very compounding issue because a lot of these kids make a mistake. You have to keep them away from the adult population, and it really is not the appropriate place for a young person. So believe it or not, I think the intent is good. We just have to make sure that, A, they do have juvenile facilities, because they are cutting back on that, and they have to have the responsibility to have them, so in case you have to incarcerate somebody, it will be available.
Could I ask, if a young person is incarcerated in Putnam County, are they isolated in our jail, or will they be sent to?
Yeah, well, we have a separate area. By law, we have to keep it separate. I mean, they get education, they have a very good education program. They get GED program, so they're able to get their high school education, you know, and it's a very good program. But again, we're like a very unique facility here. And when I was in Westchester County, it's a very large program. They have a high school principal that's done very well also, and it's a major component. But in Westchester County, you're talking there might be 200 minors in that population. So this is going to be a big plus to the larger counties to be able to move them to another area. But the state's going to take a lot of responsibility. New York City is a huge population of minor inmates. So they're going to have to be responsible to have some place where to put them. But I really don't think it's going to hurt us like right here.
I appreciate your input very much on this issue.
How many minors do we have right now incarcerated?
We have no females. We have 3 male minors.
3 males.
Yeah, so we're very lucky. The problem what we have when we have minor females, that causes a lot of issues. But we're very lucky in our inmate population down on females. Our boardings are up, and we're not boarding anybody out, so right now we're in good shape.
Our borders are up.
Yeah.
It's good
We're
news.
doing very well with that.
Terrific.
We work it every day.
Right. We should keep the hotel full. That's good.
Club
Okay.
Farm.
Okay.
Hotel full.
And I think what Undersheriff Humphrey said is in essence what we've been saying, the state needs to bear the responsibility.
Absolutely.
We certainly could push that with our local elected officials, county, 2 state senators in our area. But, you know, like with pre-K, you know, state pre-K required and all, they start out funding it 100%, then it's 70%, and pretty soon it's 0, and the district's ending up with more teachers' costs and all that kind of thing. So there's something to keep an eye on, certainly.
But Mr. Chairman, I don't want to be redundant.
Yes, sir.
The key, though, in the larger counties, you have violent felons or minors. So they have to have a responsibility of a place to incarcerate some of these people. Because that's the major issue. These are, you know, so that's an issue in the larger cities. So it's, they have major problem. They're gang related. They're very violent. we've had a couple experiences in our facility of minors, they have no sense of reality. They strike out, where an older person is more judgmental, will watch. So the state really has to have a responsibility of the place where to have them. We have psychiatric services here, we have mental
Right.
health services, we have education, we work with them. The state is gonna have to pour that responsibility.
And there's a new facility built up where the Wingdale complex
Yes.
is, in the back, way back in the
Yep.
rear there. And that had a lot of violent youthful offenders, and it was closed down.
Yeah, they closed.
I wonder where those folks went.
I believe Kisaki is the major minor facility right now.
Yeah.
But again, that is run by the State Commission the State Department of Correction. For 19, I believe they have a youth facility there for the minor population.
Okay.
Young,
I
young
ask
adults.
you one question?
Yes, legislator Massarino?
Based on what you said though, if the law was changed, it would give those youths the opportunity to have some intervention and have some counseling through family court and to rehabilitate somewhat from a mental
I believe
perspective
it'd be
and
good for
a
Putnam.
counseling perspective,
Yeah.
So that's why it really would be good in a sense.
Oh,
Because
you're
they do need that, they need that intervention, they need those services provided to them, they need that counseling, because they just only know what they know. And they strike out, and they're reactive, and they don't have coping skills.
It's the right
And
way to
they'll
go.
never learn
Yeah.
coping skills
Yeah.
unless they're taught. So it speaks to the environment, once again.
Okay.
I think that we don't have the numbers, I mean, this is based on
It's
demographics.
statewide legislation,
So,
it's all or
and the
nothing.
reason why the larger counties have urban centers, that's why we're considered affluent, so there's a big difference.
Okay, I think we could move this forward if there's approval of this, to support this. Can I get a motion on that for number
On the
10?
motion.
Okay, a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, thanks, Gene, very much for your overview, appreciate it. Number 11 here is approval of New York State AC proposed memorialization resolution calling on the Governor Cuomo and the state legislature to plan for the next generation 9/11 in New York State and create the New York State 9/11 department that supports county public safety answering points and enhances local emergency dispatch services. So that's what we're talking about, have been talking about. So, any more discussion on that one at all? Okay, would there be a motion to approve, to
I'd
move?
make a motion to approve.
Make the motion, okay,
I'll
second?
second it.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. It brings us to number 12 here, which has to do with the 4th of July activity. There are two correspondents in our package. One is from the Recreation Department, the Director of Recreation, Patty Borman, requesting to put in place what was done last year over at the area just, what do they call it, International Boulevard, where there were fireworks, and they want to go ahead with the program. It was quite successful last year. I would mention in the correspondence that it's set for Friday, July 3rd, so it's technically not a holiday, so the cost for overtime would be a little bit less. I asked the person at the Southeast Town Board, Edward Alvarez, a councilman, who was basically the power behind this, moving this along. He's done quite a good job, I might add. I asked him for some numbers, and he was looking in the $17,000 range. It could be up as much as 25, but this will all be for supposition. It's really for us to forward it to the administration, just get their looks at regarding the budget amounts, and if the money is there. I do know the administration is supportive. I have heard that privately. The important thing about this program, even though Southeast sponsors it, really you have the whole county being involved and participating, and it was quite an event last year. Of course, the county had a fair at Tilly Foster as well, Carnival. So I don't think that's in the works. I've not heard anything about Carnival. Yes, ma'am.
I have a suggestion, why don't we take a look at the hours of overtime from last year. To me, this sounds very, very excessive. I represent the District of Nailpack. I asked for funding to cover the Marine Patrol, and I think it was $17,000 for the entire summer to cover the lake. I find this amount of money for one night, or one day, to just be outrageous. $25,000 in overtime for an event? this
Well,
doesn't,
I think from that correspondence, they were talking about the carnival as well. It was kind of a double
that's
hit.
why I'm
And it was a
suggesting,
weekend too.
I'm suggesting that we take a look at the hours that were appropriated for the event last year. I think we need to speak with the sheriff and also the administration, because for us to ask for, that's an excessive amount, even the lower number, which is 17.5,
Mhm.
that's a lot of money.
It is,
Yes, ma'am.
well, my question is, he's basing those numbers on last year, two factors that he pointed out was, one, Charlie Foster had a farm, and number two, it was a holiday, so there was time and a half, and we avoided that carnival, the fireworks being on a holiday. Last year was on 4th of July, I believe. So shouldn't that dramatically reduce the amount of the expenditure?
No question it would. Definitely, because you're not going to have the holiday overtime.
What Dean is requesting is the hours.
I want to see what
Well,
was,
that's certainly to be
because I'm concerned,
reviewed.
I understand that there will be a reduction in cost because it's not on the actual
Right.
holiday, it's not a weekend. There was 2 events, now there will be 1. But I think that it's misleading by us forwarding this letter. I want us to be sure of exactly what we're asking for.
Mhm.
Because
It
once
should
we
be
open the door, you can't
significantly
close
lower.
it.
It should be
Yeah.
significantly lower than
Half
last year.
is even a lot of money. $8,000 in overtime for one event is excessive.
There's a lot of requirements involved there because of the numbers. It's considered, I think, under sheriff, an event, isn't it? So it gets a different priority.
The factor last year is it's a regional event now. The
Yes.
people come from Connecticut, you have 84, so it really is, was manpower. We were looking, I think we used everybody we could find last year.
Right.
And again, it's nothing that the sheriff's office is looking for. Sheriff says we have no horse in this race.
No, I understand that. No.
But again, if the county wants to do it, and I was coming from the town of Southeast, it's on private property, but with 84, you really have to staff it this way. That's the problem. It's an all-day event,
Mhm.
and it's, plus we had volunteer firemen, we had REACT, we had probably 150 people there to midnight. And it was, to get these people out of there was just,
You did a great job.
yeah, thank you, but what Legislator Lewis said is correct, it's a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
And the only difference is this year, it's time and it's not double time, last year was double time,
Right.
which was, my heart stopped there. It's time and a half, but again, it's something more, it's very expensive to do these events.
We
I
have,
do know
we
that-
have time,
Yes.
we have time to look at it.
Right.
you know.
Oh, you folks feel in favor of moving this forward to the administration to get their view on it, what they think they could fund it?
I think we should get hours for it.
Yeah.
Also, in addition to that, I would like to request we get from the sheriff department hours that Putnam Valley has when they have their fireworks display.
Yeah.
So we can compare both of those.
Yeah, I love Putnam Valley, 2.
2 hours?
I love Putnam Valley.
No, 2 cars.
I go,
But
Have two
just for an
deputies.
example.
I think for a basis, starting point, I think.
it's always good in the valley.
We know what we're asking for, I think maybe we should just ask for the sheriff, make a request from the sheriff's department as to how many units were involved, how many hours and overtime. So we have some sort of sense,
Okay.
okay?
And-
of where we're
and I'd
going
also
here.
Get their
like to
perspective
know-
on what they need for
Yes,
personnel and
yeah.
vehicles. Yes.
I'd like to know what Councilman Alvarez based that number upon.
You might be
So it
thinking of
seems
last year.
excessive,
He was
but it-
thinking of
but-
last year.
Well, then it should be significantly less if that's the
So,
case.
Mr. Chairman, if you would, I will submit our action plan we had from last year. There's a detail of everybody that was involved. The plan, if you just send me something in writing, I'll get that to you.
Okay, so we'll,
And I'll show you what we did for Putnam Valley.
Probably not
Legislator
realistic
Goulman
number.
is right. I go to the Putnam Valley Fireworks, it's gorgeous, it's in town park. It's an all-day event. We have 2 deputies, then we get a trooper, we send a sergeant, I go for nothing, and it's cost effective.
I think we have to
So I'll
try to work outside of the box a little
on
bit.
behalf
this
of
one.
our committee, I'll send a correspondence to them requesting your estimate of what you think the cost would be for the program. I'll keep the town of Southeast informed that that's where it's going.
Yeah.
Okay? Well, certainly it's good to look at the actual numbers. I would only say it was a big success last year.
Yes, I
And
agree.
and it didn't impact everyone, and it was appreciated, I know that. Okay, thank you very much, everyone, on those comments related to that one. What are we here now? Number 13, which is correspondence dated April 1st, 2015. I sent a correspondence to the county executive related to the Haldane School District and the request that they would get a school resource officer, better known as an SRO. This district is the only one in the county that has no SPO or SRO involvement at all. Basically, the program of the school resource officer, it is a sheriff's deputy, and there's been a split with cost between the county and the local school district. And the correspondence from Haldane from the letter March 26th to, actually it was sent to Legislator Scucamara, indicated they had so much money to spend for an SPO, the amount of $35,000. So we're looking at a situation where we'd like to help them out, but I don't know again about funding and where we stand on that. So.
Why are they the only school that doesn't have a?
Because they chose not to have one.
They chose not to get involved.
They declined, I think, last time.
And I would say that the Mahopac School District was really very enthusiastic about the SPO program. And right now they have four on duty every day, and it's worked out very well. Yes, Legislator Scucamara.
I sat with Dr. Bowers about this, and because of the situation we are in now with this drug crisis really taking hold, we lost another young person 2 weeks ago in Cold Spring. And at first they were gonna get an SPO. SPO.
That's the retired police officer.
In sitting with the sheriff, were you there at that meeting? No, it was.
No. I believe it was Captain Martin, Captain Bellagio.
Captain Bellagio. They advised them to go with the SRO. That would be a better fit for what they were looking for and the need that they have right now, because there is a need here. And not that they're expecting us to give them the whole 20,000. They're just, next year they'll be able to put the whole fund in their budget and they won't need any funding. But right now, to fill that gap in, they were asking for any kind of help that we could give. So.
Okay.
What's the arrangement, financial arrangement
Well,
Yes.
that we have with the other towns?
I think the issue here is that the split between the school districts and the county has always been a 50-50 split. So to make exceptions for one school district over another will set a bad precedent. So they working within their budgetary restraints, they could afford an SPO. I think it puts us in a strange position to give additional funding to one school district and not another. So I think that's a slippery slope.
Right. I know, for an example, of the Brewster School District, which you know, they have an SRO at JFK, and we could not fund that because they already have two other SROs, and so they're paying the full package for that. The only question is that Haldane does not have any security at all in terms of SPO, SRO. So I'm not sure where to move with this. Glenn, do you have a suggestion? We send this back to the administration for cost analysis?
We did that.
Send it to the administration to take a look at it in terms of what to think about funding.
Because any type of funding has to initiate from the administration.
Okay. All right.
I just think it's very difficult when you start having a 60-40 split versus a 70-30 split, and some districts have, in past practice, has been a 50-50 split.
No, I totally agree. We've had a fair situation with the SROs, and I think we need to keep that.
And our SPO officers are highly trained, highly effective, have the ability to intercept and have intervention with children. It's been very, very successful in Mahopac, and it will continue to be successful.
The important thing about an SRO is they're the on-site commander in case of an incident, and they do have the police car, which is very visible in the property,
And
which is
so
important.
it's a deterrent when you have the car there, I think.
It is quite a deterrent, even if it has 140,000 miles on it. It is very much of a deterrent. Okay. Well, with your...
You had to throw that in.
Yeah, well, they got 4 new cars coming, so we'll get a better one. So,
No, I mean, on the record, I understand Legislator Scucamara requesting it, and I don't have a problem as long as they adhere to the same terms that the other school districts.
Absolutely.
So if we have to contribute 50%, I have no problem with that.
Okay, well, I'll move this correspondence into the administration and get their view on that, and
You did that already. You sent that to them April 2nd. We're waiting for them to reply. Hopefully next month
ready
you'll
to go?
have something.
I'm looking at the other ones, the other pieces here.
That's your memo that you sent down there.
Right, because, okay. Okay, that was sent on April 2nd, so it's a few days ago.
So hopefully May.
Okay, hopefully there'll be something on the May.
And Mr. Chairman, if I may, just when, we have a special patrol officer now in the, it's like Goodwin, the Putnam Valley Elementary School, and very, very successful. So that worked out very well, and looking for the special, you know, school resource officers and special patrol officers in the elementary school, and we have our regular school resource officer over in the high school, middle school, and that seems to be working very well.
Oh, so there's two officers then.
Yeah,
Good.
two. So right
Okay.
now, in all the school districts, you know, it's working well. I believe Brewster is looking to change the school year in, the elementary school.
JFK?
Yes.
Special patrol officer.
Right.
So, they'll lower their costs.
Yes.
And it'll be like, you know, that'll be good. What we'll do is have an experienced, retired police officer. And again, it's no pension costs, it's no health costs. So really, it's a great
It's a dramatic
press
That's a good program.
cost
for
savings.
$21 an hour. And you get, I'm not bragging,
you're getting
they
a
have the
top-notch.
best people. It's amazing what these people do.
Does Putnam Valley actually have two, so they're for vacation time and sick days?
Well, we have,
backup?
we have a couple backup. We have a gentleman retired from New York City, was in Drug Terrorism Task Force, a trainer. They're just amazing people. They're all, one's better than the other. They love what they do, they're highly trained, highly motivated,
Do
and they
these
love working in schools.
Do these backups go also to Mayapack if they have
Yes.
need?
Yeah.
So they're floated. they're
Whoever
maybe-
needs
They're
it.
interchangeable, I think.
Pete, does
Okay.
Mayapack have any SRO office, or they just
They
utilize
have
their
one.
SPO?
They have one, right?
Two special, the SROs are in the high school and the middle school. Then there's four,
Mayapack.
there's four elementary schools, there's six other, every elementary school has a special patrol officer, which is retired police officer.
I
And
think
they're all highly
they're
trained,
highly
qualified.
effective. I
We do,
absolutely agree.
And not only
I
that,
think it's a
they're-
great program.
They're all members of the community, which makes it even nicer.
Yeah, they
So
are.
they're giving back, you know, and we're saving. It's a huge cost
Yeah.
reduction.
It's definitely, and you get the coverage, which is what the key for the
Yeah,
youngsters.
absolutely. And people feel safe, the parents feel safe, the
Okay.
administration feels
They're,
safe.
they're highly effective and highly trained.
So what I'll do then is I'll contact the administration, see what they're gonna do with my letter that I forgot that I sent on April 2nd. So, okay, we'll get that settled. Okay, any other business? Any other business at all? I would only mention the Protective Services meeting has already been set on the agenda for May 7th, okay? And we'll have a discussion on the police consolidation initiative that's being talked about, okay? So we'll have representatives from the Mahopac Carmel Town Board, okay? Okay, if there are no other issues, would I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Motion to adjourn?
Second, all in favor? Aye. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.
Oh, you sweetheart, it's make sure you're okay. Yeah.